All right, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we will do reading passage one of Cambridge 21, test one. This passage is about Davies sisters. Okay, first of all, I'm going to analyze the questions. So this is typical passage one. We got gap filling and true or false not given. Okay, let's analyze the options. First of all, it's important to check the number of words required. So it's one word only. Then it's about family and early life. All right. Their grandfather's wealth came from wealth means money, right? Earning. So it came from something and transportation business. All right. Number two says their upbringing gave them a sense of social responsibility, and their something was designed to give them an interest in activities such as collecting art. Then their governors took them on trips to art galleries. They took lengthy. Okay. So lengthy means long, right? About the things they saw in art galleries. Sisters, as art collectors, there something showed they liked old master paintings. Okay, showed, exhibited, revealed, and but they were expensive to buy. And then we got the first impressions paintings they bought showed places in somewhere. Okay, so it's about the location. And following impact of First World War, they helped bring artists from Belgium to Wales. They worked in somewhere, so it's about a location again. For soldiers, okay, so it could be a base, maybe soldiers in France. And number seven, opinions about the sisters as art collectors were not considered typical collectors. They lived in isolation, which means they were separate from people in the countryside, didn't have any somethings or something if it's uncountable. Who were artists? Okay, so it's a plural countable noun. Maybe family members, maybe relatives. 8 to 13, it says here Davies' sister's childhood influenced the way they decided to use their wealth. Okay, so they decided to spend their money on something. And here question number 8 says whether their childhood influenced or impacted or affected the way they decided to use their wealth. And number 9, this paintings in the Davies sisters collection were purchased from a gallery in France. All right, our job is to find whether they bought this painting from a gallery in France. Number 10, Hochbleker, so I guess I'm pronouncing the word correctly, opposed it. So opposed means did not agree, right? The Davies sisters' decision to buy art by French Impressionists. Okay, our job is to find whether this person agreed or disagreed. 11, exhibition of Cézanne paintings at the Bath Gallery was very popular in the public. Okay, so they were this exhibition was very popular with the public means general people, like everybody. Number 12, the impact of the First World War. Okay, so it's a fact. Encouraged Gwendolyn to reconsider, right? The reconsider means review, like think about her interest in collecting art again. The final one, Davies sisters bought French Impressionist art during a period when very few people, so very few people means almost, nobody were doing so. So our job is to find whether they bought this art during the period when almost nobody was interested in them. Okay, so I'll start reading from the beginning. Between 1908 and 1924, Gwendolyn Margaret Davies amassed one of the largest collections of late 19th and early 20th century French paintings in Britain. Okay, Gwendolyn and Margaret Davies were granddaughters of David Davies, a Welshman who amassed a fortune in the shipping. Okay, so we got shipping here. Shipping is becoming the synonym of the word transportation. And then the answer here is mining. Okay, our answer for question number one is mining, because the word shipping is about exporting, sending, dispatching, delivering. So it's related to transportation, and the word next to it is mining. All right. In 1907, when Gwendolyn came into her inheritance, Margaret would follow in 1909. The sisters were said to be the wealthiest unmarried women in Britain. Okay, inheritance is something they inherited, that they something passed from their grandparents. And then it said their religious upbringing. Upbringing means the way how they were raised. Okay. In rural Wales, gave them a deep sense of social responsibility. So we got social responsibility here. And they chose to use their inheritance for cultural and philanthropic purposes. Okay, earlier here, number 8 So it's about using, right? So they choose to use their inheritance, which is their wealth, for cultural and philanthropic purposes. So here, their religious upbringing, the way how they were raised, so in rural Wales, right, impacted on their spending, right? So the answer for question number 8 is going to be true. Following, while there was no real family history of art collecting, the sisters' education was rigorously geared towards such pursuits. So such pursuits, such interests, right? So here we got the answer of the next question coming. Here, their education was rigorously geared towards such pursuits. So based on this information, it was designed to give them an interest. So here, rigorously geared towards such pursuits is become the synonym of designed to give them such them an interest in activities such as collecting art. So our answer of the question number 2 is going to be education. All right. Following, their London school focused on cultural rather than academic study, and they traveled extensively with their governess. All right. So here we got governess is coming. Following is Jane Blaker visiting art galleries and making extensive notes on the collection there. All right, we also found the answer of question number 3 is it's going to be notes because the word extensive is becoming the synonym of the word lengthy. Notes. All right. Following, the sisters began to make regular art purchases from 1908, which means, approximately coincided, like coming, matching together with the dates of their inheritance. They took advice from various people, including the art dealer who Blaker is common here, brother of Jane Blaker and David Correll Thompson, who was also an art dealer. While it was long assumed that this man were largely responsible for the nature of the sisters' collection, it has recently been accepted that Gwendolyn and Margaret retained it. Like retained means kept a far more active role in the process. So we got the answer about, okay, who Blaker is common here, but I found nothing about this information yet. Okay, so this is not the location. And I will continue reading. Sisters' journals reveal their preference for old masters' paintings. Okay, here information about gap filling is coming. If you remember in number 4, it was about their preference for old master paintings. So there something showed they liked old master paintings. Okay, sister journals reveal. Reveal is becoming the synonym of the word show. And our answer for question number 4 is journals. All right. Now, following, yet they initially made very few attempts to secure any such works. While the sisters were wealthy in relative terms, their income was nothing compared to the fortunes of American art collectors of this period. And this and that, quite simply, high quality old master works were, if not beyond their means, they then beyond what they were willing to pay for them. Instead, their early purchases were of the fashionable, safe variety and included, for example, paintings from the French artists, right? This person. Okay, here I see the word safe. So safe, variety, fashionable. Okay, the first impressions, paintings they bought showed. Okay, there is still no information about first impressionists, so I'm going to skip gap filling, but there's information about this one here. John Baptiste Camille Coward paintings in the Davies sisters collection were purchased from a gallery in French. So I got the in France. I got the word French. So this person is a French artist, right? But there is no information about whether they purchased it from a gallery in France. So the answer for question number 9 is going to be not given. Following, however, it was only a few years before their collecting took a new direction and they turned to the work of French Impressionists. Now we got French Impressionists coming here. We know, okay, who Blaker is coming here as a champion of contemporary French art, had a hand in the decision. Okay, so here we got information about question number 10. So based on 10, it says Blaker opposed their decision. But here it says had a hand. Had a hand means to be involved in something. So he did not oppose, but he was actually involved. So the answer is false for this question. Okay, we know also that they would have seen examples on their various trips to Paris. Whatever the precise reason for this change, their first purchase of the Impressionist art made in October 1912. Okay, now we got gap filling here about their first paintings, right, that they bought. Okay, so they bought showed places in somewhere. So whatever the precise reason for this change, their first purchases. Okay, so here it's about their first purchase made in October 1912, where scenes. Okay, scenes is becoming the synonym of the word places of Venice. Okay, Venice is the answer for question number 5. Venice. All right. Following over the next 12 years, the sisters amassed the bulk of their impressionist collection, including 6 further works by Manet, 2 more by Manet, and 3 by Renoir, including his well-known painting La. So I don't know how to pronounce the word correctly. So here they worked in somewhere. This is about a location. Now, what about here? Exhibitions of Cézanne paintings. Okay. The Bath Art Gallery. Bath Gallery was very popular. So we should find whether the exhibition was very popular with general people. Okay, we got First World War coming here. Played a part in the development of the Sisters collection. Their initial response to the war effort was to finance the safe passage of artists from occupied Belgium to Wales as a humanitarian act, but also with the hope of establishing a vibrant artist community in the area. Later in the conflict, both sisters decided to volunteer at a canteen for troops. Okay, so we got troops here. Troops is referring to the group of soldiers. So they decided to volunteer. So they decided to work as a volunteer at a canteen. Our answer for gap filling is here coming. They worked in a canteen, right? For soldiers in France. So we got here northern France is the answer, like the same word. And then we got troops for soldiers, and it's about the location. So the answer is canteen. All right, following, it was tedious and distressing work. Tedious means boring. All right, which would have a permanent effect on Gwendolyn's health. Okay, so this job affected her health. Yet, on one of numerous trips to nearby Paris, she visited this gallery. Here, she acquired. Acquired means got to works by Cézanne. All right, Cézanne is common here. So and then the paintings were shipped. Shipped means transported directly to Bath, England, where they became the first works by Cézanne to go on display, means to be shown, exhibited in a public gallery in Britain. Okay, it turns out that the answer of question number 11 is common, but here it says the exhibition was very popular with the public. There is information about the work to be displayed in public galleries, but no information about whether it was popular among people. So the answer for question 11 is going to be not given. Then we got commentators comment have often described the sisters as unlikely pioneer collectors. Much is made of their isolation. Okay, so in rural Wales, we got Gaffili comment here, right? Because they lived in isolation in the countryside and they didn't have any somethings. All right, and the fact that they didn't make friends with artists or gallery owners. Okay, here the word artists and gallery owners are becoming the synonym of the word artists, and the word before that coming right after didn't make. So didn't make is the synonym of didn't have, and then the answer for question number 7 is going to be friends. All right, so we found all the gap filling answers. Now we have 12 and 13 left. Great. We got 2 paragraphs left here. Yet they didn't feel obliged. So like, they didn't feel that it was their responsible to follow fashionable tastes and were free to pursue their own preferences, although they relied on a trusted circle of advisors. Okay, they got people who they could trust. They made frequent trips to London and Paris and also regularly had paintings sent to their home for consideration. By the early 1920s, Gwendolyn felt increasingly uncomfortable buying artworks. Okay, so she started feeling uncomfortable about buying artwork when faced it. So like she encountered or she experienced it, the poverty and social upheaval, right, created by the First World War. Okay, so First World War created these unpleasant situations here for her, and then her philanthropic pursuits then became focused almost exclusively, means solely only on social causes and the development of the sisters' home at Great Minogue Hall into a conference center and venue for this festival of music and poetry. Gwendolyn made her final art purchase in March 1926 Margaret also stopped collecting around this time, but started again in the 1930s, acquiring, which means getting on a short, relatively small scale, work by contemporary, means modern British artists. Okay, so here the answer for question number 12 is coming. It says the impact of the First World War encouraged Gwendolyn to reconsider her interest in collecting art. So, it urged, pushed her to reconsider her interest in collecting art. Yes, because right here, because of the First World War, there was poverty and social upheaval. And because of these reasons, right, right here it says, her philanthropic pursuits then became focused for almost exclusively on social causes. So, she reconsidered them. The answer is true here. And the following part is about Davies' sisters bought French Impressionist art during a period when very few people were doing so. The sisters collecting French Impressionist paintings at a time when such art was routinely ignored. Okay, right here the answer is coming. Routinely ignored means people didn't care about it by individuals and institutions alike. Alike means similarly. So almost nobody cared about them, and they collected their paintings at this specific time. All right, the answer for question number 13 is also true. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We found all the answers to these questions. Stay tuned to the next videos. I will keep analyzing the passages myself and sharing them on YouTube. Thank you for your time. See you around.